imagine your wife finds your secret bunker over 100 long boxes of comics. What do you say?
I'd say two things. The first thing is they were on sale. And the second thing is, have you lost weight? And you're golden.
You're golden.
You're golden. Welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I'm Bueller. Today is episode 98 of the brand new Coffee and Comic Show. And as you can see, I'm not alone. I got my good friend Bob here with me. Bob, how you doing today?
Doing good. A little bit tired, but I am raring to go on this episode because it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, we're doing a Q&A for the very first time. I've never done one myself, and I know we've never done one together. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing on this one, we actually took every single question that people asked us, and we're going to answer every single question that was asked, at least all the way up to the point before we film this video.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and start off with what we always start off with, which is our coffee that we're drinking.
Yeah.
And our coffee today is brought to you by Mocha Express. We actually went there today, or Bob went there today, and I have the Missile, and this is pure shots. It's like 20 shots with nothing else, and they even wrote a little thing on there that said, "Hi, Travie," so that was kind of cool. My old roommate, she used to rent a room for me. She works there at the coffee shop, and so she writes me little messages on there, so it's kind of cool. What are you having?
I am having a 4-shot Americano that's been brewed with some cinnamon and some sugar-free vanilla sweetener in it, and it's divine.
Awesome. Not tasty? Divine.
I need the wake up, so it's divine.
Wow, he's switching things up. That's pretty cool. Like I said, this is brought to you by Mocha Express. If you're ever in town, go to Mocha Express and let us know, and we'll meet you there and have a coffee, and I might even pay for it.
Wow.
Or Bob will, or something. I don't know, whatever, right? Before we get started, I want to thank our friends, our partners of the show. Of course, we got Comic Proline. They've been helping us out for quite a while. If you want to contact them, all the contact information is down below. We also have Scout Comics. You can go to our website, scoutcomics.com. Enter the code Bueller. You save 10% off your purchase. You can get those monthly subscription boxes that I really like. You can also go to blackboxcomics.net. Enter the code Bueller10. You save 10% on your purchases there. They got that brand new book coming out in December. I'm looking forward to that. Devil's Dominion or Domain. I got that wrong. I think it's Dominion. Mm-hmm. I actually read it. I liked it. Thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a review here pretty soon. I keep saying that, but it's not coming out until December, so we got a little bit of time. And I also want to say really quick about DakotaComics.com. That's the place that's selling the Devil's Red Bride unofficial variant for Comics with Bueller and them. They did sell out, but they put some more on for their online orders. So there are a few limited quantities right now. I think it's like less than 20, but they initially sold out at 125. So just a few are left. And you have the option to get it autographed. And I want to let you guys know the artist, Clara Meath, will be doing the autographs on October 17th. And after they're autographed, then they'll be sending those out. So if you're looking for one that's autographed, it'll be a few days later from the release date of the 14th. She has to come in there and sign them all, so they're doing it on the 17th. So there you go. You can get it autographed. Really cool. Like I said, there's only like 20 left, and they're selling fast.
Yeah, absolutely. And put your order in with your LCS if you can't get them to the website. It is a really good book. I've already read the pre-release copy.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's really good.
I didn't even read it.
Really?
He doesn't tell me this stuff. He's always emailing me, "Hey, can you send me these books?" But no, he doesn't.
I assume that you already get these.
Nope. Thanks a lot, buddy. I see how it is.
Seriously, I always thought that you get... Anyway,
nope,
we'll talk.
Not everything. Okay, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to go ahead and go with our first 5. Bob, you want to go first?
Sure. It's been a little bit since I've shown some Daredevil, so I thought I'd bring some Daredevil goodness. I got issue number 70 here. I just picked up some random older ones out of the box. I got issue number 22. Always like the kick in the face on that one. And then I got some Stiltman action with issue number 26. And then issue number 30, I got the Mighty Thor on there. And then rounding it up, I got Man-Bull on issue number 79. And there's my first 5, some Daredevil goodness.
Those are great, man. I always like Daredevil books. I almost like them as much as you do.
Do you really?
No. I don't. But you know what? I'm going to do something a little bit different on my first 5. I'm actually going to share my books during the video because some of the questions asked, I have examples. So those are going to count as my first and final 5. But what I do want to show is some prints that were sent to me from a gentleman named Sonny. And he sent me these awesome prints. And he knows I am a Rob Liefeld fan. So these prints that he drew himself are based after like the X-Force, I believe. And I don't know how good you can see these, but we'll put those up there. But he sent me 2 of those, and actually there's a different color version of that one. I was going to give that one to you if you want it.
Thank you. I'd love to. I'd love it.
And then that one right there. And then probably my favorite one is that one right there, which is Deadpool and Cable. So
Sonny, great work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Very nice. So I really like getting those, and I'm going to put them up. I'm going to be doing some decorating in another room here pretty soon. Those are going to go in there. So
yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to share those right there real quick and tell you thank you, Sonny. I really enjoyed those quite a bit. And you know what? If you want to send any of your artwork, we like showing artwork on here. We've showed stuff in the past.
Yeah.
Comic Crazy sent us a painting that was great. We showed that. But any type of artwork or anything really that you want us to show, we will show it because we're fans of what you can do. And apparently you guys are fans of what we do. So works out pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go ahead and switch gears again. We'll go ahead and go to our good friend Robbie and see what his pick of the week is.
Hey everybody, I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups from Pop Culture Philosophers. You're watching the Comics with Bueller channel, and my pick of the week is
Decorum number 5 from Image Comics. And this book is still, the artwork inside of it is very dynamic. Wasn't my pick of the week this week, but definitely, Robbie, you can't beat his picks. You can't beat his reviews. And here's another really good one.
You didn't like it at all.
I did not like it at all.
You didn't like it.
What do you mean I didn't like it?
You told me before we got here that you didn't like it.
Watch my review and you'll see exactly what I say.
He said he buried it.
I buried it.
I haven't read it, but I will take Robbie's word for it because he does really good reviews. And, you know, there's a lot of really good books that came out this week. And like you said, Batman 100 was really good.
Yeah.
He chose this one over those books. So, I mean, if he did... what do you say? He's sticking with it or something like that?
He's sticking with it.
Yeah. He's dedicated to this title. If you're not checking it out, you might want to do so. It's worth your time. This was an extra $1. It's $4.99, so it's a little bit thicker book. Has a lot more graphs in it than normal.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's the Jonathan Hickman graphs, right? Those type of things. But do me a favor, go check out Robbie at Pop Culture Philosophers. It's a featured channel on my homepage, and you know what? He's one of my favorites. And you know what? Like I've said many times, he does the best reviews on YouTube. He reads 50, 60 books every week. He does a great review. Comes out Tuesday night. It was late this Tuesday. I was actually sitting there waiting for it to pop up. I'm not kidding. I do that with his videos.
So do I.
And I plan on working on my preview video while I'm watching his video. And he was late. But it's all good, man. It did come out. It was a little bit later, but what are you gonna do?
For sure, it's hard work reading all those books and dropping it that night, man.
Apparently, I guess it was an 80-page Spider-Man book that probably took him a little bit longer. So there you go. Anyway, go check out Robbie, Pop Culture Philosophers. It's definitely worth your time. Okay, let's switch gears again and get right into our Q&A.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're gonna read every single one. We're not going to spend too much detail on this stuff because we want to get to all the questions. That's what the Q&A is answering all the questions you guys have. Bob is up first with the first page of 5 pages. So here we go.
All right, first question comes from Scott Hunter. He says, what is the best way to sell comics? Auctions, Instagram, eBay, so many ways to go. Curious what you all think about it.
I've only done auctions, and I've been pretty successful. And I would say to this question is, wherever your audience is bigger. If you have a bigger following on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, go to that audience. If you only have 10 people on Facebook and 100 people on Instagram, do it on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is try your local flea markets, buy yourself a table and sell yourself, and then don't discount Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. All right, next one.
This one comes from Dakota Arson. He said, how did you guys meet and connect?
Well, you've said the story, so I'm going to say it now.
All right.
So Bob was alone one night, and he was down the rabbit hole for YouTube, and he found some video about this Comic Tom guy, and Comic Tom was telling people how much he enjoys and loves me. And then Bob was like, oh, that guy seems interesting. I'll look up Comics with Bueller. So Bob looked up this Comics with Bueller thing and watched some of those videos of some handsome dude that was on there with glasses and a vest. And then he mentioned a local coffee shop. He's like, I think I've been to that coffee shop. And so, sure enough, Bob sends me an email. He's like, hey, I'd really like to go on a date. And I was like, what? I was like, how about we just go meet for coffee? I'm not looking for a dude right now or any time, whatever. And so, we went and had coffee together and sat down for a couple hours and talked about comics, and that's where it all started.
Yeah, your version's a little bit different than my version, but
it's close enough. And so, your wife might not agree with some of it, but whatever, right?
All right. Okay, next one comes from Keeter Pie. He says, what are your day jobs? Just curious.
Go ahead.
All right, so during the daytime, I work for Daimler Trucks. I work in supplier management. And then I also work after hours as a pastor. I do drug addiction counseling, and I run our men's ministries at our church.
He's a busy man. So
very much so.
Very busy. I myself, this is it. You guys see it. I am a full-time YouTuber now, which is great. I make my living on YouTube ad revenue, and I make enough now to pay my bills and support my family, and I couldn't honestly say that just a few months ago, but as of the last 6 months, things have really been working out. So I thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to do this. So my Patreons, you watching the video gives me the opportunity to be my own boss and live my dream, to be totally honest. So
absolutely,
thank you so much. It's amazing. I never thought I'd be doing this.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome stuff, man. All right, so the next one comes from Y2L Ray. The question is, what is your most cherished comic in your collection that is in the worst condition?
Well, I have examples. Like I said, I had examples. Mm-hmm. This is X-Men number 94. This was actually a gift sent to me from Steven Spock. Spock is his dog, and he said Spock used to use this as a chew toy. And you can see on the cover there, it is mangled and it's missing. But I love it. It's a grail I always wanted, and now I have it. And like I've said many times, condition doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
So this is perfect. But this is my grail that's been chewed up by a dog, and I love it. So there you go.
Yeah. My most cherished comic in my collection, of course, is Avengers 58. Even an android can cry, but that's not in the worst condition. The one that's in the worst condition would be Submariner number 6. That great cover with Tiger Shark on it. It's tattered all to heck, but I love it.
Yeah. Comic Crazy just got that book.
Did he really?
Yeah, I think so.
That's awesome.
First appearance of Tiger Shark?
First appearance of Tiger Shark.
That's the one.
There you go. All right, so on to the next one. Multiple people asked this question. They said, what setup do you use to record and edit your videos? Great question.
So I actually took a picture of the equipment I use. It'll pop up on screen right here, and I'll tell you what's in there. So the camera I use is a Canon Vivix HFR40. I have 2 of those. My mics I have 2 mics. I have a Yeti X and Urzoa Safari, or something like that. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. Those are the 2 microphones I use. My editing software, I have a MacBook Pro. I use basic iMovie. It's a free program that's in MacBook. Every video I've ever done is edited on iMovie. Some of my other stuff you can see in this picture, Logitech webcam. I've used that from time to time on live streams. I have a wireless karaoke mic. That's what I've always used to do my interviews and stuff like that. And then I also want to say lighting is really important. I have a really nice lighting display that really comes in handy, multiple lights. There's another thing I just want to point out real fast. Now that you guys are back on me, I use a lot of color correction in my videos, and I'll show you an example. I'll turn the color correction off right now, and you can see the picture is quite a bit different, and it will turn the color correction back on, and this is what you normally see, but there is a huge difference between the color correction and the regular, and I think it makes us look a little bit better. That's why I use it, to be totally honest. And I also want to let people know, one of the things I use a lot is a stand for my comics. As you see right here, my comics are on a stand. Everything I show is on a stand. The reason for that, and I preach this so many times, and nobody listens to me, not even Bob. And you know what? The glare is the worst. People suffer from the glare. Have a stand, figure out the angle of your comic so it looks nice, it's presented well, it's a big in frame for the picture, and there's no glare. If you have the stand set up, you'll never have that problem. So that's the equipment I use. The stand is very important along with all the other stuff. So there you go. What about you, Bob?
So the equipment that I use my phone. I bought one of the latest iPhones. I predominantly use that for all my camera stuff. And I also bought a very cheap microphone lapel mic from Amazon. which you can get for, like I said, $20.
Yep, $20
But you
bucks.
can buy the warranty, a 4-year warranty on it for really cheap. So if it breaks down, they just give you a new one for brand new. That's my predominant setup, and I also use iMovie for editing my videos.
Yeah. All right, next one.
All right, next one comes from Daryl Blannon. He said, "Would you invest in Ghost Spider or Miles Morales?" Not right now, buddy.
I personally neither, because I really don't. I'm not connected to any character of those. If I don't really care about the character, I don't really pay any attention to what's going on with them, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I just pass. If I had to pick one, probably Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Just because I actually know who that is.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. For me, if it's a modern book and it's over $1,000, I'd much rather go and get a Silver Age book for the same price. So that's just me.
Yep. All right, next one. Look at this. We're flowing through here.
We are.
I told you, man.
Okay. Next question comes from D Mina. They say, "What is the worst comic book you've ever bought? Something that was so terrible you wanted to use it as toilet paper."
For me, something recent was 20XX.
I was going to say the same thing.
Really? Number 2. And the reason why is because number 1 was so good.
Yes.
And it set the bar really high. And then number 2 comes out and it was just crap.
It was garbage.
And it was like, boom, gone. I don't want to know anything more. So 20XX number 2 was an easy pick. The first thing that popped in my mind.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Nice.
All right. Okay, so the next one comes from DJNate63. They say, "Did you ever decide on what book you were sending to get graded?"
I did. I want to show it right here. This is Iron Man number 7. This is a beautiful copy. It was
Yes.
sent to me from Steve. My buddy Steve sent it, and it's just gorgeous. And I honestly think that if it does get graded, I'm not a good grader, but just looking at it, it's got to be in the 9s.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's just beautiful. So that's, if I do get a book graded, that's going to be the one.
For sure. I'm a huge Gladiator fan. I love that cover.
Yep.
The next one comes from KJ Fox. "My local con was held in February as normal, and then COVID happened. I did not get back into collecting until April when cons were shut down. As they reopen, what do you see happening for collectors with all of the new old blood coming back into collecting? Is Bueller and Bob going to be a road show when it does?"
Honestly, I don't know what to expect when they start happening again. We're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Now, he said, is Bueller and Bob going to be a road show? I want to travel. And that was actually my plan this year, was to travel and go to different places.
Yeah.
I'm at a point in my life where I can do that. You know, my kids are grown. I live by myself, you know, and I just have a cat. So I do want to travel. Maybe next year that's the plan, you know, but whether Bob gets the permission to go with me, that's a whole nother story.
It's not the permission, it's the money.
There you go. There you go. So I'll just live in my van down by a river or something, you know.
There we go. Okay. All right. So next one comes from Jeremiah Babcock. "What are the grails or keys that always have seemed to find you repeatedly over the years?"
For me, I can't think of anything over the years, but the one book recently that kept finding me over and over was that Avengers 684, the Mortal Hulk on the cover.
Oh, yeah.
I found like 5 of those, like all for like less than $1 a piece, like one after another, after another, after another. So that's the one I thought of.
Yeah. So the one that keeps finding me, and it's not really a grail to most people. To me, it's a grail, but it's Iron Man number 150. It's the issue where Doctor Doom and Iron Man go back in time to Camelot.
Yeah.
I love that issue, but I keep getting copies of it over the years.
I know you like that Doctor Doom, so there you
I
go.
love Doctor Doom.
Yeah. All right, next one.
All right, next one comes from Deep House Gent. "I have gotten comics signed by writers and artists at various events where there was no certificate of authenticity offered. It never occurred to me that this would be a problem, but I've heard stories about collectors having the authenticity of their signatures questioned. Moving forward, how might I verify a signature if there is no COA in play to confirm it? How are others dealing with this?"
This is really easy. It's CBCS.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Just send your books to them. They will verify signatures.
Right.
And this is a little side note. Steve Borak, the president of CBCS, we're planning on having him on the show next week. So if you have any questions for him, it's a little bit, the schedule is a little bit different. So I don't know how we're going to work this in. But if you have any questions for Steve, like I said, he's the president of CBCS. He was actually the guy who invented like grading. He started CGC and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. The faster I can get those questions to him, the better. Because like I said, the timing is going to be a little bit off because we're going to have a guest for next episode for the copy one. And when we film that might be different from when we normally film this video. So,
Sure.
But yeah, easy thing, CBCS. they will, if it's authentic or if it's a legit signature, they will verify it. So there you go. That's really the only place that you can do that. So
yeah, exactly. All right, so the next one comes from AI. He's got 3 questions. Do you guys collect action figures or statues? What is the most you paid for a book? What websites do you guys buy comics from?
all right, you want to go?
Sure. Okay, so the first one, do you guys collect action figures or statues? Yes, but not a lot. Just the stuff that I really love.
Sure.
For the, what's the most I ever paid for a comic book? $1,200 is the most I've ever
Really?
paid.
I was curious about that.
Yeah. $1,200 is the most I've ever paid. And that was back in the day. What websites do you guys buy comics from? There's a lot of different websites I go to. One you can buy from that we go to is TIFA. They have a great website. So there you have it.
Okay, my answer to this is no, I don't really collect action figures. I used to a long time ago. I used to collect the Spawn. Don't really do that. The most I've ever spent for a comic book cash is $60. X-Men number 266, and I spent $110 store credit on Captain America number 117. There's another example right there. But that's it. No $1,200, so whatever. And then website, like you said, TIFA is really the only one that I've used. And the reason why is because it's free shipping because their store's right there in Milwaukee, and I just go pick it up so I don't have to pay for shipping. Yeah. So besides that website, that's really the only one I use. So there you go.
There you go.
$60.
All right, next one comes from Brandon Allard. He said, here's a question. In your searches, have you ever come across a big money book or series and the seller had no idea on the value? Or even no seller and you found an Action Comics 1 used as insulation in an old house? Just hoping for an anecdote that says there's still undiscovered gold out there.
So I found a New Mutants 98 at the Goodwill for $1. You know, I'm not going to go up and tell the register lady, oh, you need to charge more for this. I just bought it. It's the Goodwill. All the stuff is donated. So,
sure.
You know, whatever. As far as, is there stuff still out there? Yeah, there's still stuff out there. There's collections that hit comic shops all the time.
Yeah.
Just the small amount of days I helped out at a comic shop, there was probably a collection a day walked in the door. Like, hey, are these worth anything? So they're out there. Yeah. You just have to get a hold of them. So
for sure, yeah, I'd say the same thing. You know, kind of key into when your comic shop puts out their next batch of dollar books. Sometimes there's usually gold inside of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still out there. I would just say this: that if you see something that somebody put out there, and you know, like a $500 book, and they don't know it's there, don't take advantage of them.
Yeah.
That would be my thing.
I will tell you this: a real quick tip. And this is kind of a fishy one, but I'm just going to say it. You know, a lot of people will have comic books and they'll look in the phone book for comic book shops because they don't know, and they'll just go down the list. Just make up a business name, call it AAA Comics, so it's the first one on the list.
That's right.
You don't have to just say, oh yeah, AAA Comics, have a special phone number for it, whatnot.
That's good.
Leave a message, call them back. There you go. You get all the collections. Because that's what they do. They go look in the phone book. They go, comic book shops, oh, here you go. Here's one right here. And I'll call them and see if they want a collection. So just business name, AAA Comics.
I wonder how many AAA comics will now be out there.
Just a little tip, man.
There we go. Okay, so the next one comes from Lost in Comics. How you doing, guys? Question for Bueller. What was the motivating factor when you decided to pull the trigger on starting your YouTube channel? And were there any bigger channels that helped you early on to get your foot in the door?
Well, first off, Lost in Comics, you guys won one of our giveaways from the very first week. I've never got your information. So if you're watching right now, do me a favor, send me an email with your address so I can get that out to you, because they won like the Secret Wars one and stuff.
Oh,
like
nice.
That. Second, as far as what got me into it, I wasn't doing anything. You know, I was just sitting on the couch doing nothing, and I needed something to do, and I just pretty much started enjoying comic books again, watched a couple of videos on TV, and it's like, oh, I can do that. And really, that's it. It basically started from there. As far as like any other bigger channels helping me out, not really, to be totally honest. I mean, I learned some stuff from other channels, but I will say this, and I'm not trying to be mean. A lot of the people I met in the beginning, I learned what not to do.
Yeah, there you go.
And just because it was different a few years ago, and I saw a lot of stagnant type thing, and I realized if I just did that type of stuff, I wouldn't stand out. So I actually learned what not to do by watching some of these channels. Like I said, no offense, but I'm just being honest. And, it worked out, So, and like I said this before, it really helped that my 4th video hit. And my 4th video I ever put out, after like 4 months, it for some reason hit an algorithm, and before I knew it, it was over 10,000 views.
Yeah.
And it's still going today. So it's like, that helps.
For sure.
So it's a little bit of luck. But, a lot of great people along the way. But, I maybe Tom a little bit, but, we kind of grew at the same pace and stuff. He's got more subscribers now, but really, when you look at our views, they're pretty similar as far as how many people are watching our stuff. But we were from day one. I mean, me and Tom hooked up within the first 30 days, and we were sitting there promoting each other from day one. So it's, I think we helped each other out, to be honest. So anyway, that's about it.
Awesome. Okay, so the next one comes from Kevin Henson. He said, "Hey, Bueller, have you ever discussed or explained how you got the nickname Bueller?"
Yeah, this is an easy one. do you know this?
I do that.
Yeah,
I do know this.
It's literally, I'm an Xbox gamer, and they generate a random gamer tag when you get your Xbox. And I literally got my Xbox 360. It generated a gamer tag, and the gamer tag was Bueller.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I kept it. And then every time I play games, people just called me Bueller. And then when I decided to do a YouTube channel, I was like, oh, what am I going to name it? And Bob knows this. I take a lot of time and effort. I look at names and how to say things, And I was like, I need to come up with something with the word comics in it. And Bueller's kind of cool. And I don't want to use Travis because that's my real name, Travis. It's kind of boring. So Comics with Bueller was born, and that was it. And it's kind of funny because a lot of people are like, oh, the Ferris Bueller. If you watch that movie, besides the comment from the teacher, the Bueller, everyone calls him Ferris.
Yeah, everybody.
I mean, that's really the only time they use the name Bueller. So, I mean, that's why I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, there's a Ferris, and then there's a Bueller. I'm the Bueller. So, there you go.
The rest is history.
He doesn't have a copy named after him.
So, the next questions you're going to read.
Yeah, I got the next page. Okay, here we go. This is from Comics on the Mind. What do you and Bob see the future comic book conventions looking like, especially with the COVID crisis going on now? Do you think virtual cons will start to take over while in-person cons start opening up slowly?
Well, I think he just answered his own question. I think that the virtual cons is the way to go until they can open up. A lot of the state laws and guidelines for COVID doesn't allow for large gatherings like that, especially indoors. So I think that's what you're going to see until they actually can open up.
Yeah. I will say this, the virtual cons, I think they're a waste of time. I think that nothing will replace an actual Comic-Con.
Nothing.
Nothing to replace the experience. And I've been a part of some virtual cons, and I was a part of the Mainframe Comic-Con. And literally they did a thing with the interview from the guy from the Shield, Agent Smith. And 100 people watched it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to use the word embarrassing, but it's like there's got to be a better avenue for these. And even the bigger ones. I mean, Mainframe, there's been other ones. They just did the SuperCon or Sioux Falls Con or whatnot. But even the bigger ones, the
DC event.
The DC event, that's really the only one that did halfway decent.
Yeah, I think the San Diego Comic-Con event was too large in scope.
Yeah, the people just passed on it.
Yeah.
So I think the virtual cons are kind of a dead end. I get it. It's something in the meantime. But really, I mean, if you're going to interview Kevin Smith and 200 people watch it, and then he just goes on his own channel and 10,000 people watch it,
right?
What's worth his time?
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. That's just kind of my view on that. I wish it was different, but like I said, nothing will take the place of a real con. It's almost impossible to do.
I miss them. I wish they'd come back.
I got the next one. This is from Torrin Johnson. My question are, who is your favorite writer, favorite artist, and your favorite single comic issue that you could read once a week and never get tired of? And this is from a few people asked this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right, so let's go with my favorite writer. My favorite writer of all time will always be Roy Thomas. Absolutely love him. He's the writer who got me into comics. And, that's very, very close to Stan Lee, who's probably my all-time greatest as well.
Yep.
My favorite artist will always be Jim Lee. I think there's nobody better when it comes to composition in books. I think he's basically taught a lot of people the game.
Yeah.
I love Todd McFarlane, but Jim Lee's always been my go-to.
Sure.
And what was the other one? My favorite single issue that I could read once a week and never get tired of? Dark Knight Returns, man.
Yes.
I don't think there's very many books that I could go back to over and over and over and get the same joy out of as that one.
Yeah. For me, Todd McFarlane, it's easy. Writer Chris Claremont, another easy pick for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the book is kind of weird because this is the book, Captain America 350. I don't know why, but for some reason I couldn't even tell you who wrote it or who drew it, to be honest. But for some reason, growing up, I always looked at that book. There's like a really great fight scene that's like half the book between the agent guy and Captain America. I just loved it. So for a book that I can look at over and over again, and your pick is great. I agree with that as well. But for some reason, this book has always been there.
Yeah.
And it's like I'll pick it up every now and then and flip through it. Oh, I remember that. So
Yeah.
there's
No other book in my collection that's tattered as much as my Bible as Dark Knight Returns.
That's the same with mine. Exactly the same. Next one I have is from Rafe. Says, what are your recommendations for someone who may be interested in writing comics? How do you go about it? Specific publisher, artist, etc. So I don't really have any experience in this, but this is actually something I asked Justin Fingerguns, the writer for that one. And pretty much you just have to have a concept or an idea, and you just have to keep pitching it over and over and over. Pitch it to Vault, pitch it to Aftershock, pitch it to Image, whoever you can pitch it to. You're going to get no's, like 99 times out of 100, you're going to get no's. If you get any notes, try to tweak it, re-pitch it, If you've exhausted all your avenues, move on to another type of book. Have a different idea. Pitch that. Don't, if you have one idea and everyone rejects it, you just have to move on to something else.
Yeah.
And come up with another idea, because you're just kind of spinning the wheels and stuff, unless you get in front of someone else. So that's kind of that's one thing he said. Just keep on pitching, and eventually, if it's something good, somebody will pick it up. But just obviously, start off with a smaller publisher.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I would add to that is there are a lot of great examples out there of what a comic book script looks like. Mm-hmm. If you were to pick up the Marvels book, drawn by Alex Ross, there's a lot of great examples of script work in the back. If you look at the back of the Walking Dead Deluxe Edition, you'll see how Robert Kirkman lays out his storyboard. Start to get into how you would write a comic book, and start to get into your craft. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Pick an arbitrary character and just create a story out of it, and keep writing.
Yeah.
And so that you get that skill and that muscle memory honed for writing a book.
Yeah, and also have the information available. Like, they're going to ask you, oh, who do you see drawing this? Have some examples.
Yeah.
Tell them how many issues this is. The little details. Have all that available. Like, what market is this going to hit? Well, I think this is going to really hit on the female demographic. Or have all those little details that you might not think about. Just have all those available, because that way when you have those questions posed to you, you have the answers right away.
Absolutely.
Okay, next one is from the Rogue Trader. It says, what is it that got you guys back into collecting these books we all love? The easy thing for me was literally just walking back into a comic shop. I mean, it was literally my buddy called me up, said, hey, there's a comic shop in the area. This is about 3.5 years ago. I was like, okay, cool. I walked in there, and literally that was all it took. Just walking in the front door, looking around. I walked out with a stack of 50-cent books, and I went back the very next day, and I kept going back.
Yeah.
It was literally that easy, just to fall back in love with this hobby that meant so much to me when I was younger. So.
Yeah, for me, I said I'd never buy a comic book again after I sold my collection, just because I was so mad at losing all that money. But then the MCU movies came out and started rekindling my love for the characters that I grew up with. And then the movie Logan came out.
Yeah.
And I'd heard that the comic book version was different and that I should read it.
Oh, yeah.
I picked it up. It was the most amazing thing that I had read in a long time, and I was like, if this is comic books now, and this is the type of stuff they're doing, I got to see more. And that opened the door for me. And
that's a great book to pick up.
It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. Next one is from Jean-Claude Van Tom. Said, what is your favorite storyline? Phoenix Saga, Days of Future Past, Civil War, stuff like that. And have you ever thought your hobby has gotten out of control sometimes? So my favorite storyline, Kraven's Last Hunt. It's always been one of my favorites. It's the 6-issue storyline that went over Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Web of Spider-Man. They all were written by J.M.D. Mateus. Easily my favorite. As far as, do I think that the hobby gets out of control? Yeah. When you have to move the boxes to get the things in your house, like I need to move all these boxes just to get this out of a certain cupboard.
Yeah.
It's getting a little out of control.
Getting a little out of control. I think if you're a comic collector, you can't get around that. It's going to get out of control at some point.
Yeah.
So there's that. My favorite storyline, though, would be the story that cemented my love for Daredevil, and that's Born Again.
Nice.
I mean, and I probably love it for different reasons than other people do, and we'll get into that later.
Nice. Next one is from James Pierce, I believe. Says, do you prefer slabbed or raw comics, and do you prefer slabbed or signature series slab books? Easy for me, raw.
Yeah, and for me, I love the signature series slabs.
Yeah, I've never purchased a raw, or I've never purchased a slab book. I've never had a book slabbed, so all my books are just the raw things, except for the ones that people have sent me. So
yeah.
Next one is Telmo Gormes, I believe. Says, small question: what began your passion for comics? There you go.
Okay, so on my channel, I have my origin video, and you can see how I got into comics. Roy Thomas wrote Avengers number 58, Even an Android Can Cry. It hooked me emotionally, and it opened a whole new world for me that I never thought was possible, and I've loved comics ever since.
Yeah, we've done videos on a lot of these topics and stuff, so we're not like getting into huge detail. You can actually, like you said, go to his origin video. We've done videos like the comics change lives, so we've hit on that topic. For me, it was just, I can remember as a kid seeing these larger than life characters, superpowers, just the concept of superpowers and superheroes and stuff like that really engaged me, because as a kid, anything's possible. You know, I believe in Santa Claus.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, oh, is there really a Superman? Can somebody get bit by a spider and become Spider-Man? You have that innocence in you.
Yeah.
And anything is possible. So when there was books that kind of went with that, I was hooked easily. So next one is from Patrick Dorkin. It says, has there been any book or series you have read that brought tears to your eyes? I know the answer to Bob for this, but for me, no. Not to say I'm not emotionally attached to books, I do, but as far as actual tears to my eyes, I can't think of one. Now, I know Bob has a different answer.
Yeah, and I've already mentioned both of them.
Yeah.
Even an Android Can Cry. You know, it opened, because I was very alone.
Yeah.
It opened the world to me. There were people out there that were going through the same thing that I was, which is just the need to be accepted.
Yeah.
That's one. And then the other one was Born Again. The page in Born Again where Karen is being forgiven by Matt. There's no words. It's just the look of elation on her face at being forgiven. It still moves me to this day. I'm getting choked up right now just talking about it. But it's just, I mean, it was one of those pages that just cemented just how great comic books can be. And so there it is.
There you go. Next one is David Posner says, are all of your books in Mylar bags? If not, how often do you change out poly bags? Do you and Bob hang out even when you're not making videos? And how do you make time for reading your comics? So he's got multiple questions.
Yeah.
I'll go first on these. No, not all my bags are in Mylar bags. I want to put them all in the Comic Pro Line bags. They're sending a bunch more stuff, and as time goes on, I'm going to switch out to all the Comic Pro Line bags. Those are archivable. They're similar to Mylar, but they're a little different. But, you know, those are what I want to use. Eventually have all of them done. The second question is, do Bob and I hang out outside after we make videos? Not as much as we should. Quite honestly, when I read that, I thought to myself, and we really don't.
Since the pandemic, we really haven't.
I mean, even before that, we probably could have hung out more. Which is, I mean, I invite him to my house every week. He's invited me over there once.
Oh, gosh, here we go. That's our relationship, folks.
And how do you make time for reading comics? I have time to read comics, you know, and just because this is what I do, so I have a lot more time to do that with. But really, it's when I'm in the mood. It's like, what do I feel like doing? I feel like reading comics. You know, I don't actually like, oh, today I have to read comics. It's always like, am I in the mood? In some comics, I'm in the mood as soon as I get them.
Yeah.
It's like I just got this and I want to read them as fast as I can because I'm really looking forward to it. And those are the ones that are really special. So
yeah.
All right, how about you with those 3 wonderful ones?
Yeah, okay, so all my books are in Mylar bags with boards on them. I don't really leave too many of them out just without, bags and boards on them. Do I change them out? I haven't changed out since I've started collecting this last round.
Yeah.
I figure about every 5 years, but with the new Comics Pro Line bags, I don't feel the need to do that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, do we hang out? We just answered that question. You're great, man. And then how do I make time for reading? For me, making time for reading is a chore just because of my job, my 2 jobs. And so I'm very grateful for the pre-release material that I get so that I can start on Monday.
Yeah.
And throughout the week, it's just finding time. Sometimes I'll read half a comic book and then have to go back to work because I'm on break or whatever.
Yeah.
But I usually try to get them in all by Friday night so that I can film my video on Saturday morning.
Nice. And you have a wife.
I do.
And a dog,
family, a dog,
doggy,
yes.
and all that stuff. So, I mean, you're a busy guy.
I am very busy.
There you go. This next one is from Justin Thomas. Says, is Venom more popular than Spider-Man in comics at the moment? In comics, yes. Venom is more popular. I think it's probably their number 1 selling book right now.
Absolutely.
As far as overall, no. Spider-Man is a household name.
Yep.
It has been a household name for, who knows, 30, 40 years. And it will always be a household name. So as far as that, I can ask my mom what Venom is, and she'll be like, oh, some kind of snake.
Right.
But she'll know who Spider-Man is.
Absolutely.
So. What's your same thing?
Same thing, yeah.
Next one is from Copy 801. It says, I have a simple question for you and Bob. What obscure comics do you have? I have an example.
Do you? Go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how obscure this is, but I actually have this whole set. This is Sledgehammer.
Oh, there you go.
Number 2. And I liked that TV show when it was out. I just thought it was fun. And so I have all the books. Like I said, it's not like obscure. It's Marvel.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Sledgehammer.
There you go. That's
cool.
awesome.
Yep.
I don't have very many obscure books. Just getting back into collecting. I think I showed some on the channel here, which was a series that was written by Roy Thomas called Elric. I love the Elric character from Michael Moorcock. I love fantasy reading. Another a book that I have in my collection, I have a few of them, and this is purely for visual because I think his artwork is phenomenal. I can't stand the book. I don't agree with the book. It's just not my taste, but it's Tim Vigil did the series Faust, and I think it's some of the best artwork that's ever been done on comic pages, and so sometimes I'll just pull it out and just look at the artwork. It's amazing.
You'll have to show it to me. I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, it's good stuff.
Very cool. The next one is from Scott Thielen. He says, my question for you and Bob is, what is your guilty pleasure when it comes to buying comics? Go ahead.
I mean, my guilty pleasure is just walking into the comic shop. I'm gonna buy comics that day. I get excited. New comic book day is like a holiday for me, right? It's like I get excited about NCBD just as much as I do going to church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And so guilty pleasure. Buying comics, period.
Nice.
Whether that be new issues, back issues, or Grail that I've been hunting for. I just love comics.
I'll be a little bit more specific. Rob Liefeld books.
There you go.
I just like finding random Rob Liefeld books. And I've said this before, random books that are signed and personalized to people. I don't find them very often, but I like signed by such and such. And to Robbie, thank you for reading my book. I like stuff like that. I have a little stack of books that are signed to other people. I think that's kind of cool. So.
That's neat.
Next one is from Derek Magnus. He said, what is the biggest surprise read you have ever read? I can't believe I like that series or run. So for me, I couldn't think of anything in the past, so I had to go more recent. And it was pretty easy because I really enjoyed it. It was Folklords. And I'm not into that type of thing. I'm not like a fancy Harry Potter type. I've never been really into that type of stuff at all. But for some reason, that book, I read it and really enjoyed it. And I enjoyed the whole series from the first one to the sixth one. That was like the first book I would read when I got it.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome stuff. For me, the biggest surprise in recent years was Kanto.
I figured you said
Kanto. And I didn't think I was going to like it as much. It's just a little cartoony type character.
Yeah.
I thought, people were raving about it, but when I got done with that series, I was emotionally moved.
Yeah.
And I collect everything that has to do with Kanto now. It's amazing.
It used to be we couldn't get a week by without you saying Daredevil. Now it's changed. Now we can't do a freaking show without you talking about your little Canto buddy. I told you I bought a Canto book.
But you haven't read it yet.
No, it's just number 4. It was $1. So I was like, I'm just going to buy it. So.
Yeah.
That's awesome. This one is from Hornhead Joe. Said, Bob, what is your favorite Daredevil storyline and writer?
Okay, so you guys know I love Frank Miller. I love the Born Again storyline because that's the one that got me into. So that's my mainstay.
Sure.
Frank Miller, Born Again. Close second, the Guardian Devil storyline by Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada. Man, I absolutely love that series, the artwork and the writing in it. And so those would be my 2 favorite mainstays for Daredevil.
Nice. I had written down Ben Affleck. That's not it?
Nope, not it, buddy.
Okay, whatever. This one is from Tony Thompson. It says, are all your comics bagged and boarded, or do you have some certain ones that you do not have bagged and boarded? So, yeah, I have a whole collection of books that are not bagged and boarded. Mm-hmm. Those are my true believers. And I refuse to bag and board those. Those are pure comics, and they're on my spinner rack, and that's where I put all my true believers. I do not bag and board those at all, and those are for the purity of comic. Taking me back to yesterday, because it's the books I used to see on the spinner rack itself, because they're older books, and so I never bag and board those.
Yeah, so. Your spinner rack is one of my favorite features of your house and studio.
Yeah,
because it just takes me back to that time when I was a kid.
It's filling up.
It looks it's amazing. But I already answered this question.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that's not bagged and boarded.
No. The next one is from Mr. DC. Says, if the majority of books were to go only digital or trade and hardcover collections, would you still read comics, or would you maybe switch hobbies? I don't know of any other hobby I'd switch to be honest. So yeah, I'd still read them. Yeah. It wouldn't be the same because I really do like individual floppy issues, but I'd still read them.
Yeah, my preference is floppies, but I can't see myself switching hobbies. I'd still read comics, even if they did away with everything and it just went to digital. I'd hate it, but I'd still read them.
Yeah. All right, Bob, guess what? Page 3.
My turn? Oh my gosh, we're flying through these.
I told you, man.
Yeah.
This is fun.
It is. All right, the next one comes from Dan. He says, I'm curious, as people who have a sizable audience and review comics, what do you learn more about the medium of comics to provide more context for your reviews? What do you feel is the best way to learn about understanding the craftsmanship of making a comic book and what truly separates quality from mediocrity?
You want to go ahead?
Yeah, this is really good. So, first of all, let's just talk about reviews themselves. If you want to see what really good reviews look like, go check out Robbie at Pop Culture Philosophers. I mean, I review books, and it's kind of funny that I will say go to somebody else's channel.
Yeah.
But really, Robbie does some of the best reviews in comics, and the reason why is because he does non-spoiler reviews and gives you everything you need to know about the book. And the reason why he can do that is because he's been in the game for a while. He understands what goes into the composition of a comic book, and that I would say that's where you'd start.
Yeah.
You can pick up a lot of books like how to write comics, comics drawn the Marvel way. These are all precursors that kind of let you know what goes into making a comic book. Those are things that you should know. But I would say start looking at the way people do reviews, because they're all different. Some people are more art centric. Some people are more writing centric. Some people are more about their opinions. But understand what it is that you want to review and how you want to review it, and then start making your craft from there.
Yeah.
And as far as background goes, there's a lot of material out there that you can read on what goes into good writing and whatnot, and the verbiage that goes into it. So
when I read this question, I was like, oh man, I really want to take some time and say something really smart and sound intelligent and stuff like that. And I sat there and looked at it, and I said, you know what? It's honestly, for me, it's just simply the pure joy of comics.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. That's the best thing I could say as far as Dan's question is. I just really enjoy comic books. And I enjoy sharing my thoughts about comic books. And really, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could come up with this big, long thing that sounds really intelligent. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, I just enjoy talking about them.
Right.
And if you enjoy something a lot and you have the opportunity to share that with people,
absolutely,
that's all you need.
That's going to come across, and that's all you need.
You're exactly so, I mean, if you're sharing something you don't like, it's going to be miserable.
For sure.
But you can tell that we enjoy this.
Love it.
And so that's where you start.
Yeah.
You know, so and that's pretty much it for me.
Right on.
Yeah. But yeah, I read that. I was like, oh, that sounds really smart. I was like, I can't do it. So.
All right, next one comes from Matthew Rabin. He says, how do you store your comic collection? Bonus question of how many comics you have in your collection.
As far as how I store, just short boxes, of course, bags and boards. As far as how many books are in my collection right now, around 4,000 books. And at one time, I think I had around 30,000. It's probably the most I had at one time.
Yeah, I think the most I've ever had was 22,000. I mean, I don't know what the exact number is on my books right now. I have 12 short boxes and 2 long boxes.
Nice.
However many fits in those.
Gotta get rid of those long boxes.
I do. All right, the next one comes from Leo Mendez. He says, I would like to know what others think of the Marvel Masterpiece deck. I used to love collecting the cards, but these are way overpriced. What do you think, and did you ever collect the Marvel cards from the 90s? I'll just go first on this. I never collected the cards. I had some of them. I got the ones that were particular characters that I love, but I was never a collector of the cards.
Yeah. For some reason, I had like a couple of them. I don't know where they came from. I don't remember ever buying them. I think I probably bought some card collection. They were in there. And they're really nice. As far as the new ones go, I heard they're pretty expensive. And a couple of people asked me about these cards. I don't have a tremendous interest in it. It's just a whole another start of another cycle if I were to get into it again. So I figure I just stay away from it. Because before I used to collect all sorts of cards. And it was a rabbit hole I don't want to go down again. So I just kind of ignore it right now. So that's pretty much it. But they look pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I guess they're pretty spendy. So
Yeah. All right, so the next one comes from Nick. He says, struggling with buying tons of weekly books or just save money for keys. Do you guys have an option on that?
So whether to buy the keys or your weekly books, just buy your weekly books, and if they're keys, there you go.
Yeah.
Don't chase keys that you wouldn't buy, and the only reason you're buying them is because they're keys.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it wasn't a key, would you buy it? No. Then don't buy it. That's as easy as that.
Yeah.
Save some money, buy the stuff that you want in your collection, and if they end up being keys, it's great. Because if you spend all your time chasing keys, you're going to miss out on stuff you really like.
Yeah, and if you're chasing keys, most of the time it's FOMO. It's fear of missing out. And, I mean, unless you absolutely love and it's a grail that you're going after, save up for those.
Yeah.
Other than that, your weekly books are fine.
Yeah, and I want to say something about the keys right now really quick. And I'll just say this. I watched Tom's top 10 video. If I'm not mistaken, 9 out of the top 10 books were all based on something going on in Hollywood, okay? Or option or whatever. Everyone knows this. There's nothing going on in Hollywood right now.
Yeah.
There is nothing going on. There is no movies coming out this year. Mm-hmm. There's no movies hardly coming out next year. They're not making any movies or TV shows right now. They haven't done for months. So if you hear an option, something got option, you're not going to see that for like 2 years.
Right.
So there's plenty of time to get a book.
For sure.
Know? And I don't know if anyone is really thinking about that, but it's something I thought about the other day. It's like, we're not getting the Black Widow movie till like next year, in the middle of next year. And that movie is supposed to be 2 years ago, okay? Right. And all the hype for like the Guardian or whatever, that all died down, and it'll probably come back up when the movie comes out. But that's like a year and a half in between when it was supposed to hit. And all the new stuff that they're planning on doing, all the hype right now, there's plenty of time when that's going to drop like a stone, and then it'll go back up when the movie comes. So you'll have an opportunity. What's nice is you do have that whole length of time right now between when they actually start hitting again, because who knows when that's going to be.
Yeah.
So when I see 9 out of the top 10 are like hot books, and it's like, oh, when's that coming out? 2024?
Right.
Nobody knows. So I don't know. It's a little, it's kind of weird, really.
It is.
Think about it.
All right. So the next one comes from, it came from the Nerd Cave. There was actually a couple other people that asked this question as well. He said, do you guys have a dedicated room or space for your comics? And if so, how about a rolling in some video? As a companion question, let's say you have 600 square foot of basement and $10,000 to spend on fixing it up into your ultimate comic book room. What's going in there?
So I actually made a video, kind of a little quick 1-minute tour of my house. So we're going to actually roll this right here so you can take a look. Okay, for quick reference, this is my front door. Moving to the right, we're right into my living room, and then you see it, the coffee and comics set on the left-hand side of my living room. There you go. This is what you can get away with when you're single and you live alone. So it takes up a big chunk. That's not a marijuana plant. That is a fake plant, just so everyone knows. This is Bob's corner. This is nice and decorated and stuff. That's where he sits. We'll go ahead and zoom back out here, kind of take a look. That's where I sit on that side. But yeah, this is right in my living room right there. It looks pretty good. I like it. Go ahead and move to the right a little bit. We got my bedroom door right there. And next to that is the top 10 set. That's where I film the top 10 videos. And those are all my comics. That's about 90% of my collection right there. So I don't have a tremendous amount, to be totally honest. There is my spinner rack. You guys have seen that before. And then we have the wall with some great shelves. I don't use that enough. I need to use that set more often. That's where I film my green screen as well. Kind of cool. And then those are just some supplies, random stuff right there. No big deal. Back to the wall. Looks nice. Back to the spinner rack. The top 10 set. Bedroom door, the coffee set, there you go. And we'll go all the way back around so you can see the best part of the house, the kitchen. It's all one thing, it's all combined. So there you go, that's everything from left to right, right to left. Those are all the sets. My whole house is pretty much the comic book place. So pretty excited. Thanks for watching, guys. So that was a quick tour of my place. Obviously, Bob has seen it and stuff like that. As far as what I would do if I had $10,000 for a 600 square foot room, I'd buy one of those massage recliners and stuff, and a big screen TV, and like a couple books, and that's about it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It'd take me some time to figure out what I'd actually want in a room like that, but I definitely want, display of everything. Yeah. If you watch my, my coffee and comic show, the Bob Cave, my whole room would be like that, just stuff everywhere.
Now you're doing some remodeling at your house, so you're gonna have a new setup eventually, right?
Yeah, we're gonna be buying a new house, and when we buy the new house, I'm gonna have a whole room that'll be set up for everything. So looking forward to it.
Interesting.
Yeah. All right, so the next one comes from McInnes J100. He says, do you think it hurts or helps that comics seem to follow the MCU as far as which character gets pushed to the forefront?
I don't think it really matters, to be honest, because, and I thought about this, all the characters started off in the comics anyway.
Yeah.
Every single character started off in the comics. What they decide to do for the movies, it's whatever, because they were always in the comics first.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's kind of the way I look at it. So
yeah,
they're just following the comics lead.
For sure. And this is nothing new.
Yeah.
I mean, when video games come out, they do the same thing.
Yeah.
And, way back in the day when Batman 66 came out, they changed the face of comics to match what was going on with the show.
Yeah.
So this is nothing new.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one comes from Nathaniel Manzi. He says, should people only buy comics to enjoy reading them and not care about their value?
Yes.
Yes.
And this was the easy one. And actually, this was a very long comment. There was more to it, but this was the basic of the question itself.
Yeah.
I've been under the impression now for a while. I actually don't. I wish that comics really didn't have the value that they do. To be totally honest, I think that some of it gets blown up, more so than it should. And I would actually be more comfortable with there being very little value to comics. And when I say value, I'm talking dollar value.
Yeah.
I like the value of a comic being the story and what it is. Just like when you have a good movie on DVD and you like to watch it over and over and over. It's only worth like $1 or something to resell it, but the enjoyment is always there for it.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, the fact that there is value to the comics is, to me, it's icing on the cake.
Yeah, for sure. If you're collecting comics and it's strictly for $1 value, you're missing out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one comes from Jacob Helberg. He says, what are your absolute favorite comics that you read as a child? Do you still get nostalgia reading them today?
As far as like really young, the ones I read were like Avengers, and I'll put this up here. Another example. Avengers was one. West Coast Avengers always comes to mind. Defenders was another one I remember reading a lot of, and a little bit of Spider-Man. Those are the ones I remember reading. I like the Avengers because I like the team aspect and all the different characters, and I got to know them a little bit better because there was all these people. Then I went and found individual issues of those characters. So.
For sure. When I was younger, I did a lot of reading. So I read a lot of novels, a lot of different types of books. I think my first foray into comic books was Marvel Origins. It was kind of a thick book that had like the origin of the Fantastic Four, Thor, Spider-Man, a couple others. And so that was kind of like my first foray into comics. And I remember enjoying reading that book a couple of times.
Yeah.
But it was just another book that I read.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later on that I actually got hooked in comics. But I still get some nostalgia now when I go back and read those original stories, because now I have a whole new appreciation for them.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I go back and read them.
Very nice.
Next one comes from Ganjabar B. Question for both Bob and Bueller. What is the most important / special comic to you ever? If you had to pick one comic that represents what makes you love comics, why is it the most important to you? And is Bob's a Daredevil issue?
It's not.
It's not, actually. Again, you can go see my origin video. You can see the comic book that got me into comics, which was Avengers number 58. Not the previous one that was the first appearance of Vision. But the storyline, Even an Android Can Cry. It just really hit me, resonated with me on an emotional level. So there, that would be mine.
This is mine right here. I've talked about this before. The reason why it's Contest of Champions #1. The reason why is because this one cannot be replaced. I could buy another copy of this, sure, that's fine. But this is actually the very first comic I bought when I went to a comic book store for the first time. My mom bought me this book. I still have it today. I remember seeing this in advertisements and other books, wondering what they were all looking at. And I finally found the book. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old when I found it. So that's why it's the most important one in my collection. They cannot be replaced.
Yeah.
I have other books, and I'll actually mention those later, like Hulk 181, which is very special to me. It was a gift. But that could be replaced. It could be another gift. It could be somebody could buy it and gift it to me and pretty much mean the exact same thing. This one, you cannot replace it because I can't go back in time as a child and remember that moment I walked into a comic store and saw this book. So this is the one.
That's awesome. Okay, so the next one comes from Jason Jones. It says, you seem to be part of a vibrant YouTube community on the West Coast. Can you talk about the YouTube creators you like and enjoy watching when you're not creating great content? What other YouTube channels do you recommend to your subscribers?
The one we say this all the time. It's Pop Culture Philosophers. That's my appointment viewing. That's the only show on YouTube that's literally I'm waiting for it to come out Tuesday nights to hear his reviews. I mean, it's literally that is what it is. And no offense to anyone else. And there's a lot of channels out there that I like the people, but some of the content is just kind of redundant, and there's only so many, like, oh, this is all the new books I got this week. We all got, for the most part, most of us all got the same books. Or, you see a lot of videos to where they're like, oh, the most anticipated books for next week. I do the same thing. So I'm guilty of the same thing. But there's only so much of that stuff. It gets, like I said, a little bit redundant over time. I like the people behind them, and I enjoy them. But as far as the content itself, and even if I didn't know Robbie, okay, and maybe just say Robbie was a jerk, I would still watch that content because it's so good, Even though if I didn't know him, never met him, which is not the case, it's so good, I watch it. So, I mean, that's really the only one I can think of. And no offense to anyone else, but it's really the only one that I would like. How come this isn't out yet?
Absolutely.
Like Tuesday night. Why is I almost texted him, what's going on?
Where's my video?
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. That's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I think both of us have featured channels on our YouTube page. And I would say that, mine's the same way. Those are the, some of the channels that I love the most. As far as appointment watching, same thing with me, Pop Culture Philosophers. I watch your video every Wednesday, in the morning. It's Tuesday morning, the top 10, and then on Wednesday morning, the preview video that comes out. Those are appointment watching, hands down. And then some other channels that I really enjoy. I always try to support Rod the Rockin because he gives shout outs to everybody on his show. And so I love his channel. I love what John's Comics with Kids and The Boy Who Had 7 has done with Comigories.
Sure.
I think that's great content and really enjoyable watch. And there's a few other channels out there that, I do try to catch as much as I can. Our good buddy Damien, Sleepy Reader 666. he usually has some reviews on his channel that keys me into books that I should be looking at that weren't on my pull list before, and I really enjoy his no holds barred. He just tells it like it is type of reviews as well. And so these are some of the channels that I like, but there's so many of them, that I have in my my favorites.
Yeah, exactly. No, I watch a lot too. I watch a lot of those as well. But like I said, as far as like pure content, if I was going to say somebody comes to me, who should I watch? I would say go watch Robbie. Yeah, that's just easily one to do. So anyway, all right, there you go, Robbie.
There you go.
You better have the check in the mail.
All right, next one comes from John Vickery. He says, imagine your wife finds your secret bunker over 100 long boxes of comics. You're right behind her as she finds them. She turns around and sees you standing there. What do you say?
I'd say two things. The first thing is they were on sale. And the second thing is, have you lost weight? And you're golden.
You're golden.
You're golden. There you go.
I'd be like, a secret compartment? I hit the jackpot. This is what I've always wanted.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. I had no idea. This is the
greatest find in the world. There you go.
That's awesome.
All right, so a couple of people asked this question. Should second and third printing be worth more than first printing comics?
My initial thought is just no. I think the first printing should be worth more because it's the first printing. All through collecting, it's always been the first printing, is the one to get. And things are changing now. It's just the way the market is going, And the reason why things are changing now is because they're switching up the cover.
Right, exactly.
On the second and third printing. And that's why people are wanting those more so. And really, it's really just Marvel doing it. Or no, that's not true. DC's done a few. But most of the DC stuff, they just changed the color background. Yeah. Like I'm thinking about the Batman one. They just did 3 printings. They just changed the background of the book.
Yeah.
Same book, just different color background. But for Marvel, they'll put a first appearance of a character on the third printing book cover and stuff, so it makes people go after it. So,
or you just put out 25 different Dr. Seuss covers.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But I mean, no, I think first printing should be the ones worth the money. So
it should be.
But the market decides it for us. We kind of had no say in it. So
absolutely. All right. So the next one comes from Daniel DeStallo. He says, "I got a decent question for you, Bueller. What are your top 5 under $10 comic covers?"
Okay, so this was actually pretty easy for me. I have a couple of examples. A few ones you already know. So Spider-Man #1, the Tom McFarlane one. It's under $10. It's a great looking cover. Punisher War Journal #7. That's the one with Wolverine and Punisher on it. I love that one. This is another one of my favorites. Classic X-Men #1. I love that cover. You can get that for pretty cheap. Here's another one. This is X Factor #50. This is a Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane cover.
Yeah.
Combination. I like that one. And this one is probably the more obscure one. This is Iron Man #80. This is a Jack Kirby cover. This is probably one of my favorite covers of all time.
Yeah.
And you can pick that up for like around $10.
For sure.
So those would be the top 5 covers I enjoy. There's many more, but really those are the ones that easily popped in my brain. So
yeah, I'm a cover junkie. If you can get them for under $10, great. I would say just about every Spawn cover you can get for under $10.
Yep.
You can't beat it.
Yep.
All right.
Looks like I'm up here on page 4. Ricky Rivas says, "What is your favorite TV show, past and present, and would you like comics based on it?" My favorite show, past or present, is Boston Legal, and I love that show. And no, I do not want to see that as a comic because that show is so good because of the actors in the show. The relationship with each other was just awesome. You couldn't repeat that on a comic book format. So no. But that's my favorite show.
Yeah. So this was a hard one for me because I like so many shows. One of the ones that came up immediately was Hill Street Blues. I used to love that show. I don't think that I'd want a comic based upon it. And then I think probably my favorite show of all time, the one that I geeked out the most over, was Batman 66. I watched every episode multiple times when I was a kid, and I don't think any show has ever rivaled my watching reviews of it.
They made comics about that.
I know they did.
You're cheating. Okay, the next one is, what do you like? This is from Leo Peralta, I believe. It says, what do you like about comic scene now, and what do you dislike? So what I like about it is, and this is kind of interesting, and I really had to think about this. I like it because I'm kind of in it, and I'm in it in a different way I ever thought I would be. When I say I'm in it, there's the collector part of me that's always been a collector, but now I'm in it a different way, and I never thought I would be. And I enjoy that. I never thought I'd be this ingrained in comics and stuff like that. And actually, I guess if you want to say have somewhat influence, on comics and stuff, I never thought that would be the case, and it is the case. And I just kind of have to accept what it is. But I kind of enjoy that. It's kind of nice because, like we said earlier, it's a hobby that we love. And just the simple fact that, people have recognized Comics with Bueller as something that helps the comic book industry.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Absolutely.
What I don't like about it right now is the uncertainty of comics right now. And because I think they should be doing better. The uncertainty of Diamond, we've talked about it many times. Are they healthy? It doesn't seem like they are. Uncertainty with DC, what they're doing with their books and stuff, and so I wish there was a little bit more concrete foundation to comics right now.
Sure.
Because there should be. Because it's like, they're the number one movies in the world and the most watched TV shows. Why shouldn't comics be right there with them?
Absolutely.
So that doesn't really make sense to me, because the audience is there. They just haven't found a really good way to take that audience and move it over to the comic book side of it, and hopefully they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I had to think about this, and there's two things that I like about the comic scene right now. Number one, I don't think I've ever read as many independent comics as I have in the last year. I've really been enjoying that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, I've never had a YouTube community.
Yeah.
The YouTube comic book community is something that is so special to me. The relationships that I've formed, the people that I've met, it's great. It's just, to have so many people from around the world to have such a commonality in this great hobby, and to be opened up to be able to have relationships and conversations with them is something that I would have never dreamed of before. And so I think that's the thing I like about it the best. The thing that I don't like about it is also the same thing. Social media, I think, is one of those deep holes that, we don't need to hear everybody's opinions about why they think something's crap. And the Comicsgate thing, it's just, I think that it's opened up in a way that I don't care about.
Yeah. All right, next one is from Lewis Versatility, I believe. Says, what are you guys collecting more now, independent comics or mainstream, DC or Marvel? I think you just kind of answered that. I collect more indie comics, and I definitely read more indie comics than I do anything else right now.
Yeah.
I think I only have one regular series on my DC pull list right now, which is Batman, and I have some of the events, and that's about it. And Marvel, there's a few books on my Marvel list that are more obligation books to me.
Yeah.
And I don't really have any interest in reading them. But the ones I want to read more are the independent books. So when I go through my stacks at the end of the month, my independent stack is a lot larger than the other one. So
yeah, for me it's about 50-50. I definitely am reading more independent books than I ever have, but I do read a lot. There's a lot of DC books that I read, a lot of Marvel books that I read. I'll admit that I'm kind of disenchanted with Marvel right now. I think they're putting out a lot of drivel, not everything, but I definitely say that I've got a ton more independent books than I ever have.
Yeah. Next one is from Matt Stajubar, I think, I don't know. Says, like I said in the previous comment, I am dropping ASM after 12 years and not purchasing $8.50. Do you think this attitude on mass would actually send a message to Marvel about ridiculous prices, poor quality paper, and subpar stories, or ultimately hurt the industry? Honestly, I'm not really sure. It would take a lot for them. Because the reason he's bringing $8.50 up is because it just came out this week.
Yeah.
It's a $10 cover price, and they're celebrating issue 850. Apparently, that's a goal, hitting 850. And then next week is issue 50, and that's like a $6 or $7 cover price.
Yeah.
And so it's back to back, just kind of gimmick things, and I think that's rubbing people the wrong way. But I will tell you this, and I thought about this, it's probably going to be the #1 selling comic this month, or at least right up there in the top 5.
Yeah, which to me is unfortunate because that storyline with the Sin Eater, I haven't enjoyed it.
Yeah,
and I'm not. I haven't even read the last couple of issues because I just don't care about it. And that's sad to say because this is their flagship character.
Yeah.
Right. And you think they put a lot more quality into it, and they're just not.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not really sure how to influence that. I think I just hope it gets better in time. I don't know.
Yeah.
Next one is from Ken L. Schneider. Says, my question is, how young are you two guys? And when did you start collecting? Well, I had to actually... I asked my buddy, am I 45? Because I didn't know for sure if I was 44 or 45. That's what you get. So I'm 45 right now. And when I first started collecting, I was around 5 or 6. And that's when I was just a little kid riding my bike and buying those little 3-packs and reading them under the bridge on the way back home. So
there you go. I'm 54. And was that funny to you?
No.
Was there something funny about that? What were you trying to say?
It's like you're flipping the numbers.
Yeah. And I started collecting when I was about 11 and a half, in between 11 and a half and 12, right in that area.
Next one is from Anton Masupist. I don't know. Who is your favorite superhero? Yes, Bob, we know it's Daredevil. And are any of you guys into science fiction? And what's your favorite sci-fi movie or television show? So my favorite is Punisher. And yes, I'm a sci-fi fan. I think I'm a big X-Files fan, big Stargate SG-1. As far as movies go, Close Encounters, Third Kind is one of my favorites. Galaxy Quest, I think that's everyone's favorite comedy sci-fi. I like comedy sci-fi movies, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Evolution, and Galaxy Quest. I love Men in Black is another one.
Yeah.
I enjoy those. But yeah, there you go. Punisher, sci-fi, sure.
Awesome.
Daredevil for you?
Yeah, Daredevil is my favorite, comic book superhero, of course, but he's not my favorite all-time comic book character. That would be Doctor Doom.
Nice.
But as far as sci-fi goes, I eat it all up. Sci-fi, fantasy. I got, I pretty much try to watch as much as I can when it comes to sci-fi TV shows. All-time favorite when it comes to sci-fi on TV. That's a hard question for me.
Yeah.
But I'll say that my favorite movies, probably the original Empire Strikes Back,
Nice.
stands out as one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time.
Nice. Next one is from Zerb14. He says, as you probably know, manga are black and white. Would you think if some comics started to be black and white, could their prices be cut and more could buy it? What's your thoughts?
I think this is one of those things I've thought about for a while. How to cost reduce comics.
Yeah.
And I would rather they go back to the old newsprint comics. If they could start selling them for $2 a comic, and to get kids back into comics again. When they cost $5 a pop, it's a little hard for kids to get into it. And as far as black and white, maybe that's a way to do that. I wouldn't mind. I love the purity of comics. Whether or not a kid would pick that up and start reading it with just black and white, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think it would work because I don't think you can go backwards is my initial thought. It's like they're already color, so going backwards to black and white, I don't think you can. I think going forward's the only way. I'll give you an example. You go to the store to buy a television set, $600, 4K, 50-inch TV, $600 color TV. They have a black and white sitting next to it for $300. Which one are you going to buy? The color one.
The color one.
You're not going to want the black and white.
No.
You don't go backwards when you've already set the precedent. Maybe it cuts a little bit of price, but I think you lose a lot of people's interest, losing that color and all that stuff. And not to mention, you lose colorist jobs for comics and stuff like that as well.
For sure.
So, this next one is from Mick Mo. He says, hi, fellas. Is there a comic run that while not being celebrated, you have a soft spot for? My pick would be Larry Hama's G.I. Joe, the 80s run. Both of you took a break from reading and collecting comics. What do you feel were the biggest changes to the hobby? So I would just say this. I agree with him. The G.I. Joe 80s run. Mm-hmm. I have a nice stack of those. I really enjoy that series. I always did from the very beginning, to be honest. I wouldn't mind having that full run, so I would agree with him on that. That's probably the one that I would want. As far as what do I feel is the biggest changes to the hobby, you kind of hit on that earlier. It's the social online presence.
Yeah.
Which was never there. Everything else was there in certain capacity before. There was always some form of a variant. You can go back to the 80s. Very minor, but it was still kind of there. The thing that's totally different is the fact that there's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace. I don't know. It started something or whatnot. But that was never in there. And so there was a lot of people that were very alone. Like, the only people I know who do comics are the people I see at the shop. Or, I only buy comics at the grocery store, and it's just me. The social aspect of it now is what's changed the most by far.
Yeah, for sure. And I would agree with that. I think the one comic run that I would highlight that's not celebrated, that's a guilty pleasure for me, it was the Micronauts.
No, nice.
When I was a kid, I loved the toys, and then I got the comic book.
Have some.
Yeah, and I just love that run.
Micronauts versus X-Men. You got that one?
Yeah, that one too.
There you go.
And as far, I would agree, it's social media. I mean, back when I was growing, there was very few people who were actually into comics. I had a couple of friends that read them, but for the most part, it was a kind of a loner thing.
Yeah.
And I think that the social media, the YouTube community has connected this wide group of people,
Yep.
and now it's the thing.
All over the world. That's awesome. Next one is from Jeff Sherrier. It says, top 3 comics that should be canceled right now. So I want to say this before I answer this. I think they should be canceled and rebooted. That's important because I don't think it does any good them just being canceled. Captain America is one. I think it needs to be rebooted with a better team. Superman is another one. I think it needs to be canceled, rebooted with their A team. It's one of their A-list characters. It deserves the A-list team. And probably the biggest one is Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. The whole 50 issues that have come out, nothing stands out whatsoever in this whole run. That needs to be their flagship book. Stick their AAA team on that book, reboot it, start over, give us some good quality Spider-Man. I think it goes a long way.
Yeah. I mean, those are the exact 3 titles that I would pick. Exact same thing, and I would say there's a number of books out there that are not doing anything. That probably don't need to be. Start cutting down on the amount of comics that you bring out every week and start putting out quality stuff.
Yep. Next one is from Night Driver. It says, if you were to introduce a child, say 10 or 12 years of age, to comic books, which books would you give them to whet their appetite? Boy or girl, is there any difference? Like I said earlier, I like the team ones when I was younger because you get to see all the characters. Like Avengers or Justice League or Spider-Man is very relatable. We just talked about that. He's a kid, and high school kid gets bit by a spider. There you go. Yeah. Another one, and this is, you guys should really do this. This is cheap. The True Believers. They're $1. Like I said before. I mean, they're $1. Who cares? If they get wrinkled, it doesn't matter. They just print them whenever they want.
Right.
And it introduces all the kids to these great books. And they're all the True Believers are for some reason. They're like, here's the introduction to this character, introduction to that character. This is something that's special that happened. So every True Believer is something special. Every issue has some significance. It's just not a random book.
Right.
And I think that's great. So if you want to get kids into books, buy some of those True Believers for $1. Your comic shop, I know they have them, multiple different copies. And they're just sitting there for $1. Perfect way to do it.
Yeah. I think Marvel books are the easiest to get kids into because Marvel for many years has looked at, what if this is the very first comic that a person reads? So they give you kind of a backstory, a little bit so you can get right into it and understand what's going on. So that makes it very easy. I know that there are a lot of YA books that have come out. I've never read any of those titles. That makes it very easy for kids. I think if a normal comic book, it's harder just to give a kid a comic book nowadays. So those YA books are great. But I would do what I had when I was the very beginning. Go get one of those like Marvel Origins books.
Yeah.
That has stuff from the 60s that gives you the backstory of how Spider-Man began or how Thor began. The first family in comics, Fantastic Four, and just lay it on them.
Yeah, exactly. Next one is from Raniel Salvanti, and we're pronouncing all these names wrong, but that's okay. Says, Bueller and Bob, what is one comic book in your collection that you would never let go? So I already talked about the Contest of Champions one, and that one is definitely the one. But if I had 2 close seconds, it's the ASM number 129, autographed by Jerry Conway, and also it was a gift from my nephew. And then obviously the Hulk 181, which was a gift from Steve Whiting as well. So those are the other 2. But really, like I said, those 2 are great, but you can recreate the scenario where I got those. The other one, you cannot recreate that.
Yeah.
So that's what makes the difference.
For sure. For me, it's my Avengers number 58. I got a high grade copy, highest that I could find, which was a 9.6. And I waited until I could meet the guy who actually wrote it, Roy Thomas. And I did that last year at the Washington State Summer Con. I had him sign it. It's slabbed. it's my prized possession inside of my collection just because of how much that story means to me.
Nice.
And so that one will never leave my collection.
Very cool. Next one is from Darth Bleak. He said, what series, in your opinion, has too many branching titles? I don't get any of the X-Men titles anymore because of this. Your thoughts? I agree. The X-Men has so many... I can't keep track of them, to be totally honest. They're all tied into the same universe. It was a little overwhelming for me. I'm literally just down to the X-Men book and Wolverine, and that's the only ones I get. Now, also, and they're not really branching titles because they don't connect, but there's a lot of Batman books. There's a lot of different Batman books, and they don't have anything to do with each other. Obviously, you got Batman Detective Comics, but then there's Batman and the Outsiders. There's Batman Beyond. There's Batman's Grave. The Batman Adventures. They got 2 different versions. They got the classic and the new one right now. It's just, there's like a dozen different Batman books right now.
Yeah,
and that's quite a bit, to keep track of. And every week there's Batman books. So
for sure. Yeah, and for me it's the same thing. It's the X-Men books. I loved. Reading the X-Men when I was younger, and I kind of longed for the day when it was just X-Men, X-Factor, and there wasn't just all these myriad of books. It's too much. So that's it for me.
Next one is from Bullseye Bill. Wow, he's trying to sneak up on your name there. Says, my question is for both Bob and Bueller. What are your all-time favorite comic book heroes or villains? In Bob's case, Bullseye, it seems like everyone knows you. And if you could have anyone working today in comics write a story for those books, who would it be? So my favorite is Punisher. That's my favorite character. If I could pick anyone right now who's writing, James Tynion IV. I'd like to see his horror aspect. He's already doing Batman. Batman is, Punisher is somewhat of a version of Batman, but with no morals.
Yeah.
That's really the main difference between the two, and other stuff. Don't get too offended. A lot of people get really sensitive sometimes. But I'd like to see his take on that and the horror element. And then also Frank Miller, I would love to see, because he did a lot with Daredevil, and he wrote Punisher in the Daredevil when he was part of it for a little bit, I think.
I believe so.
I could be wrong. I don't know. But I would like to see Frank Miller do a dedicated Punisher run. I think that would be pretty cool.
I think that would too. For me, Bullseye is actually not my all-time favorite villain. It's
Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom, exactly. Bullseye is definitely up there, though. And then, as far as, of course, my favorite, character is Daredevil. And right now, Chip Zdarsky writing Daredevil is an amazing run. I love that. But I'd love to see Chip Zdarsky do Fantastic Four and do a definitive Doom issue.
Nice.
I think his X-Men versus Fantastic Four and some of the other earlier work he did, was kind of an inkling. But I think Chip Zdarsky straight up on Fantastic Four right now would be amazing.
Nice. Next one is from J.N. Koch. Said, what comic book conventions have you been to, if any? If so, which is your favorite and why? And please share your favorite convention story. So obviously I haven't been in any this year. They all got canceled, so I haven't been to any of them. My favorite one is Washington State Summer Con, which we went to last year. And my favorite memory, it's pretty easy. My favorite writer is Chris Claremont. And I'd never met him before, and the first time I ever get to meet him, I'm asked to host his panel in front of a crowd of people. And so the first time I meet Chris Claremont is literally him and I are on stage talking about whatever he wants to talk about.
Right.
And Bob was there in the audience, but that's literally the first time I met him, was sharing a stage and doing his hosting his panel.
What a great memory.
Yeah, that's pretty good, and it was interesting to say the least. So.
For sure.
Easy one for me.
Yeah. I've only been to West Coast comic conventions. I've been to the Seattle, I forget what they call that, but the one they have up in Seattle. I've been to Emerald City Comic Con. Yep. I've been to the Washington State Summer Con, Rose City Comic Con, and a few down in California. I've never been to San Diego.
Sure.
But out of all those, my favorite memory as well was the Washington State Summer Con. They had so many great creators there, but I got to sit down with Jim Lee, which was incredible. And then I also got to meet my hero, Roy Thomas, all in the same con, and got to hang out with you and see your moment with Chris Claremont.
Man, there you go. Amazing. Like I said, he was in the front row. He was like, I was like, what are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. Next one is from Comic Hunter. He said, if you had to drop your read list to 5 series right now, what would be the 5 you kept and why? So I actually made the list. So the 5 I would keep, and this is kind of interesting: Daredevil, Batman, Deceased, Something is Killing Your Children, and Department of Truth. 3 of those are written by James Tinian.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I didn't. After I wrote down the things, I go, "Oh wow!" I must really enjoy his work.
Right.
The reason why I picked those because their stories are just too good to miss.
Yeah.
Those are must-read books as soon as I get them, and those would be the ones. All the other ones, I couldn't. There wasn't even a close sixth, to be totally honest. I wouldn't be like, that's okay. I don't care.
For sure.
Yeah. So those are the 5.
Awesome. For me, it'd be Daredevil for sure. I'm not going to get rid of that. Kanto. Anything that comes out, Kanto. Batman. Ice Cream Man would be another one. And then after that, I had on my mind, what would it be? I can't think.
All right, that's good enough.
Yeah, I think it's
Close
good
enough. Bob, guess what? We're on the last page. We only got a few comments left, and you are up.
All right. So this one comes from George Herizanos. He says, what are your favorite books right now? What would you suggest a new reader like myself pick up and start reading?
George is easy. We just named them.
Yeah.
From the last comment, those are the books. Department of Truth, Daredevil, Batman. There you go.
Yeah. The other one that I would pick would be Once and Future.
There.
Okay, so the next one comes from Eric the Red. Is rum and Coke an acceptable coffee substitute?
No.
No.
No. Sorry, Eric the Red.
But I do love a good rum and Coke, and since your name is Eric the Red, that's a pirate name.
Yeah.
I like Captain Morgan's rum and Coke.
Yeah, so I don't drink it all, so no, it's not a good substitute.
This one comes from Scott Thielen. He says, do you get your comics from the LCS or online, and why?
I get mine from my LCS, and the online place I get them is my LCS. So it works out just great. Like I said before, free delivery, just pick them up at the shop. So
For sure.
That's why I go to my LCS.
My main pull list is from my LCS, but I do buy comics online from a few different places. Okay, next one comes from Chris Mellish. He says, should I switch to collecting trades, omnis, and collected editions? The FOMO of waiting for the collected editions is what gets to me because I like to experience the single issues as everyone else reads them. I'm struggling to find a balance. Storage issues, small space.
I put the storage issues of small space in parentheses because he asked about that and stuff. And honestly, it's you can't get around it. It just is what it is. Unless you have the room, you're always going to run into storage issues because comics take up space.
For sure.
That's what they do. As far as FOMO or missing out, I prefer single issues anyway, so I don't really miss out because, if you're waiting for the collectors, you could be waiting for a year to get that series or a trade or something because they only come out every 4 or 5 issues, so it's months down the line or 5 or 6 months later. So it's hard for me to not just go buy the issue and read the book right then and there when I know that's all I have to do.
Yeah. I would say, talk to people that you know and ask them because when it comes to whether you should get the floppies and wait month to month or whether you should get the trade paperback, sometimes there's a trade-off on that. I'll give you one example. The Dark Phoenix saga from the X-Men. That you'll always hear as one of the greatest runs of all time, but I'll just say that it was much better when it was coming out month to month and you had to wait rather than reading it collected all at once. There's a difference in that. And
it's like a 2-year story.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was so amazing when you waited month to month to see what was going to happen next. When you don't have that wait and it just from page to page, it's not the same thing on that particular story, and I don't think it's as good.
Yeah.
So there's that.
All right, so we're down to our last 3, and I got them.
All right.
This is from Ghost Rider. He said, will there ever be a Coffee and Comics episode where Bobby, Boy, and Bueller are Muppets? No.
Nope.
I don't think so. We haven't got that budget yet.
Nope.
So. The next one is from Don Bro. He said, what are your thoughts on comic grading, fan or not fan? Do you prefer grading older books only or newer books as well? Do you prefer a specific grading vendor over another one, and why? Honestly, I'm not a fan of grading. I never, like I said earlier, never got a book graded. So I really don't have any experience in it. So as far as do I prefer one over the other, I think it wouldn't be responsible for me to say that because I haven't experienced either one of them. So, or there's 3 or 4 of them. I haven't done any of them. So really, I can't really give my opinion. That's personal preference, really. But as far as grading in general, it's never really interested me.
Yeah. I like grading. I wouldn't get every comic graded. Most of my comics are signature series, and which I really enjoy collecting. I do have a few of them that are not signature series. And as far as comic, grading companies, I've gone with CGC. That's what I started with, and because I have a little bit of OCD, I have one CBCS comic, and it stands out like a sore thumb. But also at the same time, I'm looking forward to our guest next week.
Yeah.
Because I'd like him to change my mind in that.
Sure.
Tell me why I should buy CBCS rather than CGC. Change my mind.
Exactly.
And so, but that's my opinion on it.
There you go. Okay, last question. This is from Dev Rumik, I believe. Says, when searching for back issues recently, I have come across numerous $1 issues from more recent series, X-Force, X-Factor, Marauders. Getting these seems like a no-brainer to pick up, so I picked up 3 books for each of these series, 9 total. Being a completionist, I feel obligated to get the remaining issues for fear of missing out on something key, especially for the fact all 3 series have the X or Ten of Swords tie-ins, which I currently have in reading backlog. Did I toss myself into a rabbit hole here? Yeah, you did.
You did.
And here's the thing. Well, just don't be afraid to miss something.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are just afraid to. And there's a lot of stuff out there. And you just kind of have to accept that you're not going to get everything.
Right.
And you really shouldn't. Unless you have unlimited funds, then don't worry about it. Don't be afraid to miss something because there's new books every week.
Every week.
There's brand new books. I mean, that's been the case for years, except for a few months this year. That's been the case for 50 years.
That's exactly
and
right.
it's going to be hopefully the case for 50 more years.
I sure hope so.
So don't be afraid to miss out on something, man, because if you missed out on it, for one, if you wait and maybe you'll find them again for $1, like you found these other ones for $1. And then they pop up and you go, I can fill those holes if you want. You saved yourself some money. So,
absolutely.
There you go.
Great advice.
Anything?
Nothing else. I think that's great, man. We got through all those questions, man.
All right, man. That's great. Thank you so much, everyone, doing the Q&A. I was really looking forward to this, and this is a long video. Obviously, it's probably 2 hours long. I don't care. What else are you gonna do on a Monday morning? Go to work?
Right.
Exactly. So anyway, let's go ahead and get to our final 5. And Bob, you are up.
Sure. And I brought some issues of Spawn, and I thought these were kind of funny because we're in election season. And Spawn started doing homage covers back in 2012. And these were the Watchmen cover homages.
Nice.
And there's one for whether or not Romney was going to win the election.
Nice.
And then they did the same one as to see if Obama was going to win.
Nice.
And so I thought that was kind of cool. Then there we got Spawn number 222, another homage cover. This one I like is Spawn 234. This one's a little harder to find.
Nice.
And then another homage cover, Spawn of the Dead. And I just thought I'd show some great Spawn action here this morning.
Awesome. Like I said, I'm kind of skipping the first and final 5 because I showed some books during the video. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be our final 5 segment right there.
All right.
So let's go ahead and flip on over to our giveaways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you who won the giveaways from last week. We got 2 giveaway winners. Our regular winner is Dink Thinks.
All right.
So congratulations, Dink Thinks. That's a fun name. He's won the regular thing. And then we have our Patreon winner. And our Patreon winner is Brian Criswell. So thank you very much. Like I said, we're doing 2 different giveaways. One for the Patreon, one for the regular. If you want to join our Patreon, it's $3.99 a month. The price of 1 comic book a month. If you think we provide the value worth 1 comic book a month, you can sign up for our Patreon. It does help us out a lot. Like I said earlier, this is what I do. This is my job. So you guys help keep the lights on, pay the bills and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I also want to say I had somebody email me, and at the end of the video, there's that scroll video with all the names that said, my name wasn't on there. That's not the list I use when I do the drawing. I actually have a separate list. I actually go to Patreon, print out a list of the names, and we go and pick one of the names with the random number generator. I just haven't updated that video is all there is to it. That's why if you don't see your name on there, I haven't updated it, but I'll probably update it for this one. So it should be up there right now as of Saturday. So there you go. Let's go ahead and go to this week's giveaway. And it's for everybody. So everyone can enter for this one. We actually have a slab. It's brought to you by Comic Proline. They donated this. It's Harley Quinn #1. I believe it's like the 4th printing, but it's autographed by Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palomito.
Yeah, I think that's
close enough. Sure, I don't know. Like I said, we always get it wrong. So this is the giveaway, and all you have to do to enter this is leave a comment down below. Now, I want to let you guys know the case is damaged. So it does need to be reslabbed, but like you can see, it's a 9.8, and it's a signature series, and the bladder is intact and everything is good. But unfortunately, the case got damaged and is cracked, and I want to let you guys know that it is the case. But it's a free book. You're not paying nothing for it. Right. So, I mean, give me a break. If you were paying money, it'd be another category. But this is a great giveaway and a great book, and it's actually worth quite a bit of money. Yeah. So there you go. So that's a giveaway brought to you by Comic Pro Line. I'm excited to see who wins that next week. Like I said, next week we are going to have Steve Borak on the show. It's pre-recorded. If you have any questions for him, like I said, he's like the president of CBCS, and he started CGC and all this stuff. So if you have any questions about grading, leave a comment down below. And we are getting close to episode 100. Woo! And 2 episodes away. And I want to let everyone know we will have a special guest on episode 100. My daughter will be in town.
Paige!
And I'm very excited to have her on there. She was actually on like episode 32 way back in the day. Mm-hmm. And now she's going to be here in town for that week. And I'm like, oh, that works out great. So I'm really excited to have her sitting next to me, and we'll make her read the comments.
There we go.
She's smarter than we are, so there you go. So, but really looking forward to having her on there, and it should be a lot of fun. I just want to say real quick to the people watching. I know you're watching right now. People like Mark and Mick A. and Rob Boswell and Fable and Cherokee Metal there. I see you guys. I just want to point that out. I actually wrote down some names. They're always there at the very beginning. I'm wondering if they're here at the end. But thank you guys. They always tell people to leave thumbs ups and stuff like that. So it's much appreciated. Everybody who does so, and everyone who joins us on Monday morning at 5 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you guys so much. I can't believe I say this. I actually enjoy waking up that early in the morning to be a part of the chat and saying hello to everyone and have a coffee with everyone who takes the time to have coffee with us.
Yeah.
So thank you, everyone. We're going to wrap it up. Like I said, this is a long show. Thank you, Bob, for showing your books. Thank you for answering all these wonderful questions.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we don't have to do this Q&A for quite some time.
All right.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you next time. Bye.